Hey y'all, I'm Brooke Hoover, a Louisiana native, actor, writer, and comedian. I've lost 100 pounds through diet and exercise, or shall I say, lifestyle changes. My 20-year and counting health journey has taught me that just like taking a diet pill for weight loss, body positivity doesn't magically happen overnight. I'm working on regaining my self-esteem and rekindling my love affair with Cajun and Southern comfort food in a healthier way, all the while juggling eating as clean as I can, reestablishing myself in the entertainment industry, which, as we know, is historically fat-phobic, all the while showing my inner fat girl some love. That's fat with a PH. Pretty hot and tempting. Let me tell y'all a tale or two. As a kid, I always dreamed of having a white Christmas and getting to bake from scratch, then decorate those totally traditional cookie cutter Christmas cookies. Y'all know what I mean? I always wanted to make tons of different types of traditional Christmas cookies, from gingerbread to sugar, like cut out with like intricate cookie cutters, iced and decorated beautifully. Visions of presenting friends with a beautiful array of the most colorful cookies they had ever imagined danced in my head. The kind of cookies you see on the December cover of Martha Stewart Living magazine. But when you're from South Louisiana and you're half Cajun and your mama is 110% raging Cajun, you don't get a white Christmas. And you sure as hell don't get WASPy cookies. That's what they would be called if Mama were to define them. You get treats that look like Gaston or T-Boy's poop. And if you don't know who Gaston or T-Boy are, you need to read The Cajun Night Before Christmas. Yeah, they're actually alligators who pull Santa in his P-row, of course, because we don't have Rudolph or Vixen. We have Gaston and T-Boy. Yep. And y'all, cooking Cajun candy is not a kid-friendly baking activity. It's not baking at all because in Louisiana, we call it candy. So there's pralines. Please, for the love of God, pronounce it praline, not praline, because in my humble opinion, we know how to do them right. So you got to pronounce them like where they're from. It's a confection of cream, butter, sugar, and pecans that forms a cluster and melts in your mouth. It looks like a turd. Divinity, arguably made by angels in a feathery, meringue consistency with a strong vanilla flavor. It looks like snowman turds. Gold brick fudge, tons of sugar, marshmallow cream, chocolate, and oftentimes pecans. And it sets up by getting cold and it's then cut like into bricks. It's my personal favorite fudge ever. And I've had a lot of fudge in my lifetime. It looks like Gaston's poop if he's had a lot of fiber. So basically, for this Cajun candy, you're stirring a ton of sugar, butter, nuts, and other very simple ingredients together till your mama and them get carpal tunnel, or whatever carpal tunnel of the arm would be considered, like tennis elbow. And if you want to jazz up that Cajun candy and add colorful red and green sprinkles, and if your mama is my mama, do not even attempt it. So I didn't attempt it. You better not ask why. So I didn't even ask why or why not even. I just sat, watched, and sat on the counter in shorts and a tank top because it is that hot in South Louisiana oftentimes at Christmas, licking the wooden spoon covered in Cajun candy goo, wishing for a traditional WASPy white Christmas. Now, before I make my mama sound like the Grinch, Scrooge, or whatever the name of Clark Griswold's boss in Christmas Vacation is, do y'all know his name? Mr. Hurley? I don't know, something like that. My mama would bust her butt to make Christmas, which is her least favorite holiday. It's kind of my least favorite holiday too. She would do whatever she could to make it special for my dad and I. And one year, after my dad's annual work party at the Camelot Club, that sounds so pretentious, right? My mama asked the manager if she could buy the centerpiece display, which was a big old gingerbread house. So it was like circa December 31st, 1988. because they needed it for like Christmas and all that festivity so we could have it like on New Year's Eve. We drove to downtown Baton Rouge in Mama's Jeep Cherokee and loaded like this 80-pound gingerbread house into the back, and it sat on our counter until the Epiphany, which is obviously very strict rule back home or anywhere, but it's a thing back home. You take down your decorations then. And the gingerbread house wasn't for eating, it was just for looking. The chef advised us because it had hot glue holding it together in some parts. And another year, after a few days of like incessant begging, Mama pulled down these 14-inch like pewter gingerbread men and women cookie cutters from her former gift shop that were just like displayed on the wall just for decoration, baby. So we could try and make these gigantic gingerbread cookies that were like a gingerbread big man and a gingerbread big woman. And Mama acquiesced, but the gingerbread cookies broke and they were burned and they tasted just like failure. I don't even remember decorating them because Mama probably said something like, "That's just a waste of good icing." So, knowing us, we just spent time scraping out the burnt gingerbread and eating the icing. And a year after that, Mama and I went all over town like on this wild goose chase looking for red food coloring paste, which is much different than red food coloring, for these really cute roly-poly Santa cookies from a Better Homes and Gardens cookie book I had begged Mama to buy me. I still have the cookbook to this day. And while Mama didn't like making like traditional cut out Christmas cookies, she probably went along with my roly poly Santa charade because the fact that the cookies were like little rolls, like little balls that you roll and form into like a cute little fat Santa, fat with the PH Santa. And you didn't have to like cut and put all this extra like thought into, Um, they weren't those traditional cut out Christmas cookies, and it didn't give her like red flags. And probably she did it because I wouldn't shut up about them. So after driving around Baton Rouge, like to 15 different stores, I kid y'all not. Again, this is like before Amazon. We know that. This is before the internet. You had to drive around and just look for things. Mama and I found the red food coloring paste at a specialty cake making and like place that did private parties called Creative Cakes. And coincidentally, I had my birthday there the following July because I love this place so much. But Mama still would not budge on making hundreds of cut out sugar cookies that I could then decorate to my heart's content and give out to people. I think it was because she said, "They're not going to taste good, baby." I was like, "Oh, but they're going to be so pretty." I just wanted cookies that looked more shaped, like more artsy and colorful, that were kind of more like in between the lines, literally and figuratively. I wanted cookies that looked like Christmas cookies, not like poo poo. And Mama never liked doing anything in between the lines or normal, of course. And because all of the family who lived near us were also Cajun, they didn't do the standard White Christmas Norman Rockwell type people's cookies either. So I couldn't ask them for help. You just got sweets that tasted great, but kind of looked like mud and manure. And in my humble opinion, back then at least, were not pretty enough to give to someone as a gift. So one year I thought I hit the Christmas jackpot because I became friends with a girl who had Yankee parents, as Mama would say, and they invited me to a cookie making party. And most likely, Mama had made me a special hair bow for the occasion, and I probably puff painted a shirt. Mama dropped me off, and I wiped my brow in the 75-degree, 80% humidity and walked toward my new friend's door feeling like I was fixing to enter a winter wonderland. I was so excited. My friend's mom had made hundreds of cookies, like they were already made in all fun shapes, from sleds to bells to gingerbread people to Santa to rocking horses to stars to angels, all cut out and like pre-made and just ready for us to decorate. There were tubs of green, red, blue, yellow, white royal icing laid out for us and sprinkles of all different shapes and textures. Well, like as many textures as were available in the late 80s, early 90s. Like sprinkles have highly evolved now. Really, really, they have. So I grab an angel, spread some light blue frosting on her, and topped her with some yellow sprinkles. We were 11, so our cookies didn't look anything like Food Network or Better Homes and Gardens magazine. The girls and I spent hours going to town decorating the cookies, pretending to be elves in Santa's workshop. It felt so traditional and so normal, like what you would see on a Christmas movie, and I loved it. But I kept wondering, when in tarnation do we get to eat these creations? So finally, true to form, getting impatient, waiting for someone else to make the first move, I just decided to take a bite. I had such high hopes and great expectations for all the work, all the time, all the artistry, all the effort put in, that the cookie would taste nothing short of magic. Keep in mind, y'all, I have never tasted a cut out Christmas cookie before. Yes, 11 years old. Bless my heart. So I didn't know what it would taste like. I brought a bell decorated with red and green icing and yellow sprinkles to my mouth. And it looked so cute. And I took a bite. And then, like, another bite and another bite. And I almost bit my tongue. It was rock hard and didn't have an extreme flavor one way or another. I mean, it just tasted like dough and a little sugar. I felt guilty because I had a lot riding on these cookies, my WASPy Christmas cookies. And it's kind of like a Disney movie when you know you should root for the hero, but they're like bogus, so you end up rooting for the villain. These cookies were, to quote, is it Cher Horowitz who said from Clueless, "So Monet," or was it Amber? Anyways, this waspy Christmas cookie didn't satisfy me nearly as much as like the idea of it had. And the Cajun candy, I wasn't even allowed to handle in its making for safety purposes, baby, as Mama would say. It surely didn't look traditionally beautiful. But man, the Cajun Christmas candy melts in your mouth and it tastes like cream, sugar, pecans, tastes like home. And as I got older, Mama started deviating from the Cajun candy, but she would still never do a cookie that involved chilling, cutting, and decorating. However, her cookies always, always, always tasted delicious. They were made with love, and they were the talk of the town or the school or the physical therapist's office, whatever the case may be. One year we made nearly, I kid y'all not, 200 chocolate chip cookies just using a box mix from Sam's Club. And they were huge and chewy because Mama's secret was to take them out partially raw. Remember, baby, no one ever likes a hard cookie. I worried if they would look like too clumpy and funky and not magazine cover worthy. But y'all, students and teachers raved about them for months and months, like well up until Mardi Gras. Years later, when we left South Louisiana and moved away from home, I still tried to get my way with doing beautiful Christmas cookies for gifts. And I told myself there had to be at least 3 different distinct kinds for presentation purposes. I was just all about having this beautiful presentation. But then when the holidays actually approached, combined with life and work and stress, I had no desire to make one baked good, let alone 3 different types of cookies. I still tried, like a crazy type A personality, and sometimes they came out beautifully. Like the year I made like these sour cream frosted cookies that I then hand painted with red and green food coloring. I'm sure the children I made them for really appreciated them. Not. They just dove right in and ate them. See, they couldn't have cared if the cookies looked beautiful, magazine worthy, or if they looked like. Or what about the year I made mint chocolate pinwheels that were like a log, if you will. You roll them up like a Booster Noel, and it was like chocolate and like a green. They were beautiful. Like I had a perfect roll, everything. They tasted just like okay, though. Mama made some chocolate crinkle cookies, and she put them on a handmade melted peppermint tray for presentation for my improv troupe. Those were great. Or sometimes my creations came out looking like something made by Krampus. I got ahead of myself. Like the one time I made mini pecan pie tarts, and I had the audacity to give them to my acting agent at the time. No wonder they dropped me. Still, for decades, we didn't really make any pralines or gold brick fudge that we had made in their Cajun candy glory, like back in the 80s and 90s, despite all of our Yankee friends up here always asking about Louisiana food. The Yankees had tasted Mama's jambalaya and gumbo over the years, and even one year a dobosh cake. Y'all have heard me talk about dobosh cake, and if you haven't, it's one of the episodes on this here Who's Dat Fat Girl podcast. But y'all, one year Mama and I made a homemade dobosh cake from scratch in my tiny, like 1970s, almost like easy bake oven in my apartment back in Brooklyn. But every year when the holidays came around, I tried to fight my Cajun heritage for sake of having a picture perfect worthy presentation. Until December 2020. It was like a wild alligator crawled up Mama and I's butts because we had this big urge to all of a sudden make pralines and gold brick fudge for all our friends and hand deliver it socially distanced style, of course. My boyfriend Harry, who's from New Jersey by way of India, loves nothing more than eating Louisiana food and watching Mama cook Louisiana food. So one day, I think subconsciously, we all knew we just needed a little extra sugar, pecans, and holiday cheer. And Mama said she wanted to show Harry how to make pralines and gold brick fudge. Mama stirred, kept time, and barked orders. And Annie and Archer, our dogs, barked, and Harry followed orders. I just made sure the parchment paper didn't curl up. Mama didn't let me stir. She still won't let me stir the pralines. She's so worried I will mess them up. We all licked the spoons when they were done, and it was almost like the days of yore when Mama would whip out that wooden spoon. How many of y'all's mamas or grandmamas have that wooden spoon? Y'all know what I mean? The pet cream, as she calls it, which is just a can of evaporated milk, and the orange Le Creuset. And it reminded me of the days of back then, back in Baton Rouge, when the cousins and Momma would come over, and they would all just go to town making candy. And I would sit and watch and lick the spoon and scoop out remnants from the same orange Le Creuset. I now want to tell younger Brooke that my mama didn't avoid making traditional Christmas cookies, WASPy Christmas cookies, because she was the Grinch or Clark Griswold's boss. Have we thought of his name yet? Mama was just never taught how to make them, so she didn't feel confident or inspired. My Momma was never taught how to make them. It wasn't in their heritage. It's not in our heritage, in our taste buds, or even in our heart. I mean, think of the reverse, y'all. Imagine like this beautiful, like I'm imagining a very slender, blonde haired lady with like a bob. And it's not frizzy, of course. And she has like a little collared shirt on and a perfect J. Crew little outfit on in Connecticut, trying to make pralines. I mean, bless her heart. They would not taste good. So the holiday season is about passing on traditions and keeping up heritage, whether you like your heritage or not, or whether you start to learn to like your heritage, or whatever you make your heritage in that moment. If Mama can teach an Indian man, my boyfriend Harry, who's also a Yankee, how to make Cajun candy in the middle of a pandemic, I damn well think it is a tradition we can bring back into our lives. And it's a tradition worth me sacrificing that idea of having picture perfect presentation and wishing that my family were something that it wasn't around this time of year. I'm getting all verklempt, y'all, because I always wanted a family like we saw in the Christmas movies. And now all the families in the Christmas movies, it's all about being imperfect. I'm like, hello, we're here. The Hoovers have been here since 1981. And instead, y'all, let's think about the flavors of home, literal and figurative, and bring a little home wherever you may be. And you can ask, well, Brooke, you're a grown up now. Did you ever try to make these cutout Christmas cookies for like a traditional sense of Yuletide joy and wanting to do your picture perfect, magazine worthy Christmas cookie presentation? Y'all, the simple answer is no. It wasn't until I was like in my late 20s that I even attempted a simple sugar cookie. And when I tasted it, I found that they were too hard and too crumbly, like too bland. And then one day on an attempt number, whatever attempt it was, I didn't have enough white sugar. So by mistake or happy accident, I discovered what makes my sugar cookies soft, chewy, and dare I say moist is brown sugar, which is also an ingredient very popular in most Southern and Cajun sweets. No matter how hard I try to run from my background at times, I just can't seem to shake it. So I'm learning to embrace it, y'all, one sweet at a time. And y'all, it's 2023, December 2023, as I record this, and we have been making Cajun candy for our Yankee friends ever since. And I'm wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful holiday season. And now, if you ever want to try some of Mama's pralines or gold brick fudge, as she would say, just get me the stuff and I'll make it for you, baby. Thanks so much for listening, y'all. It is my hope to inspire, uplift, and entertain you with this Who's Dat Fat Girl podcast. So, if you're hungry for more, you can book me to speak or perform my solo show that inspired this podcast, Fat Girl Costumes, written by yours truly and directed by Brian Lady at your virtual or in-person event. Please visit brookehoover.com/fluffybuttproductions or email me at contactbrookhoover@gmail.com for more info. And let's follow each other on Instagram. I'm at Brooke Hoover, and the O's in my name are not the letter O, they're zeros. Not because I want to be a size 0, but because I guess I'm just so clever with my late 90s Yahoo self. And if you like this podcast, which I really hope you do, please give me a 5-star rating and write a review on Apple Podcasts. And most importantly, share this with your friends, family, and other people you may know who are as fat as we are. That's fat with a PH.